In a small, bustling town where life moved quickly and people rarely noticed one another, 9-year-old Mia lived in a modest apartment with her mom. They didn't have much, just enough to get by. But Mia had a heart full of kindness that often surprised those around her. Her mother always told her, "Even if we don't have everything, sharing what little we do have can make someone's day brighter." Those words stuck with Mia like glue. One sunny afternoon after school let out, Mia walked home clutching her lunchbox tightly. Inside was half of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich she hadn't finished during recess. She loved PB&J. It was her favorite, but today something caught her eye as she passed through the park on her way home. Sitting on a bench near the edge of the playground sat an older man wearing tattered clothes. His face looked tired, his hair unkempt, and his eyes were fixed on the ground. A cardboard sign rested beside him, written in shaky handwriting. "Hungry and need help." Mia stopped in her tracks. She felt a tug at her chest, a mix of sadness and curiosity. No one else seemed to notice him. Families strolled past without giving him a second glance. But Mia couldn't look away. She approached cautiously, her sneakers scuffing against the pavement. When she stood close enough for him to see her, he lifted his head slightly. His blue eyes softened when they met hers, though lines of hardship etched deep into his weathered face. "Hi," Mia said softly, holding up her lunchbox. "I have this. It's not much, but you can have it." The man blinked, surprised. For a moment, he just stared at her, as if unsure whether to believe what he was seeing. Finally, he managed a weak smile. "Thank you, sweetheart," he murmured, his voice rough but gentle. He reached out hesitantly and took the sandwich from her hands. "You're very kind." Mia beamed, feeling warmth spread through her chest. "It's okay," she replied. "My mom says food makes people feel better." As the man unwrapped the sandwich and began eating slowly, Mia lingered for a few moments longer. She watched how his shoulders relaxed slightly, as if the simple meal brought him some comfort. Then, waving goodbye, she skipped off toward home, leaving behind a piece of herself in that brief exchange. Later that evening, as Mia recounted the story to her mom over dinner, she didn't think much of it. To her, it was just a small act, a gesture anyone could make. What she didn't realize was that sometimes even the smallest acts of kindness ripple outward in ways no one expects. And tomorrow would bring surprises neither Mia nor her family could have imagined. For now, though, the world outside their window remained quiet, unaware of the chain of events set into motion by a little girl's selfless decision to share her sandwich. The next morning began like any other in Mia's household. The sun peeked through the thin curtains of their small apartment, casting golden streaks across the living room floor. Her mom, Lisa, busied herself preparing breakfast, a simple bowl of oatmeal for both of them, while Mia sat at the table coloring a picture of flowers and butterflies. Life felt calm, predictable, and safe. But that peace was shattered just after breakfast when a sharp knock echoed through the apartment. Startled, Lisa looked up from washing dishes. Who could that be? She wondered aloud, drying her hands on a dish towel before heading to the door. Mia followed close behind, her curiosity piqued. When Lisa opened the door, 2 uniformed police officers stood there, their expressions serious but not unkind. One of them, a tall woman with short brown hair, held a clipboard in her hand. "Good morning, ma'am," she said politely. "Are you Lisa Thompson?" Lisa nodded cautiously, her heart beginning to race. "Yes, that's me. Is everything all right?" "We're here regarding your daughter, Mia," the second officer chimed in, his tone measured. He gestured toward the little girl standing shyly, behind her mother's legs. "Is this her?" Mia peeked out from behind Lisa, her wide eyes filled with confusion. Why were these strangers asking about her? Had she done something wrong? Lisa stepped forward protectively. "What's this about?" "My daughter hasn't caused any trouble," the female officer quickly reassured her. No, it's nothing like that," she said gently. "We're actually here because of an incident involving Mia yesterday afternoon. A man reported seeing her give him a sandwich in the park." At those words, Mia perked up, recognizing, the story immediately. She tugged lightly on her mom's sleeve. "Mommy, they mean the man I gave my PB&J to," she whispered excitedly. Lisa turned to look down at her daughter, then back at the officers. "Oh yes, she told me about that last night," she explained, visibly relaxing. She saw someone who looked hungry and decided to share her lunch. It was just a kind gesture, nothing more. The officers exchanged glances, their expressions softening further. "That's what we thought," the male officer said with a faint smile. Still, the man insisted we come by to thank Mia personally. He said her kindness meant a lot to him. Lisa blinked in surprise. "He wanted you to come all the way here just to say thank you?" "He did," the female officer confirmed. "In fact, he also mentioned something else, something quite remarkable." She hesitated briefly before continuing. "Apparently, he used to live nearby and lost touch with his family years ago. After meeting Mia, he realized how important it is to reconnect with loved ones. He's planning to reach out to them soon." Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes as she processed the impact of her daughter's seemingly small act. Meanwhile, Mia grinned proudly, unaware of the profound effect she'd had on the stranger's life. All she knew was that she'd made someone feel better, and that was enough for her. Before leaving, the officers handed Lisa a card with the man's name and contact information written on it. "If you'd like, you can let him know how much his gratitude means to Mia," the female officer suggested warmly. As the door closed behind them, Lisa knelt down to hug her daughter tightly. "You have such a big heart, Mia," she murmured, pride swelling within her. "Never lose that." Little did they know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would change their lives forever. Later that afternoon, Lisa sat at the kitchen table with the card the officers had left behind. The name scrawled across it, Thomas Bennett, was unfamiliar to her, but the weight of his gratitude lingered in her mind. Mia played quietly on the floor nearby, humming a tune as she colored another picture. Though Lisa tried to focus on household chores, her thoughts kept returning to the mysterious man who had been so moved by her daughter's kindness. Curiosity finally got the better of her. Picking up the phone, Lisa dialed the number written on the card. After a few rings, a hesitant voice answered. "Hello?" "Hi, Mr. Bennett. This is Lisa Thompson," she began, her tone warm yet cautious. "The police officers visited us earlier today about my daughter, Mia. She gave you a sandwich yesterday in the park." There was a pause on the other end before Thomas replied, his voice softer now. "Oh yes, Mia. I'll never forget her face or what she did for me. Please tell her thank you again from the bottom of my heart." Lisa smiled faintly. "I will, but I wanted to call because I'm curious. What made you ask the officers to come see us? You didn't have to go through all that trouble just to say thank you." Thomas sighed deeply, and when he spoke again, there was a vulnerability in his tone. "It's complicated," he admitted. "For years I've felt invisible, like no one cared whether I lived or died. But your daughter looked at me, not past me, and saw a person worth helping. That simple act reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Humanity." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "I used to live here in town, you know. I had a family once, a wife and 2 kids, but things fell apart. I lost my job, then my home, and eventually, I pushed everyone away. Pride, shame, I don't know. I let bitterness consume me. When I met Mia, it hit me hard. Here was this little girl, barely old enough to understand the world, showing more compassion than most adults ever would. It made me realize how much time I've wasted being angry and alone." Lisa listened intently, her heart aching for the man on the other end of the line. "That must have been difficult," she said gently. "But it sounds like you're ready to make a change." "I am," Thomas replied firmly. "I've already called my sister, the last person I stayed in touch with, and we're going to meet soon. It's scary, but I owe it to myself and to the people I hurt to try." Touched by his honesty, Lisa hesitated for a moment before speaking. Would you like to meet Mia too?" "She'd love to hear your story." Thomas chuckled softly. "I'd like that very much. Maybe, someday if she's willing." When Lisa hung up the phone, she turned to find Mia watching her curiously. "Who were you talking to, Mommy?" the little girl asked. "That was Mr. Bennett," Lisa explained, kneeling beside her. "The man you gave your sandwich to. He wanted to thank you himself, and he told me something amazing. He's trying to fix some mistakes in his life because of what you did." Mia tilted her head, puzzled. "Mistakes?" Lisa nodded. "Everyone makes them, sweetheart. But sometimes, a small act of kindness can help someone find their way back. And that's exactly what you've done," Mia beamed, not fully understanding the magnitude of her actions but thrilled to know she'd helped someone. Meanwhile, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were about to intersect with Thomas's in ways neither of them could predict. A few days later, Lisa decided it was time for Mia to meet Thomas in person. Though she had been hesitant at first, wanting to ensure the interaction would be safe and meaningful, she trusted the sincerity in his voice during their phone call. After discussing it with Mia, who was eager to see the man again, they agreed to meet at a nearby cafe. It wasn't fancy, but it was cozy, with warm lighting and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee. On the day of the meeting, Mia dressed, carefully choosing her favorite yellow sundress because, as she explained to her mom, yellow makes people happy. Lisa smiled at her daughter's thoughtfulness, marveling once again at how deeply kindness seemed ingrained in her nature. When they arrived at the cafe, Thomas was already seated at a small table near the window. He looked different from the disheveled figure Mia remembered from the park. His hair was neatly combed, he wore clean clothes, and there was a nervous energy about him as he fidgeted with a napkin. When he spotted Lisa and Mia approaching, his face lit up with a mixture of relief and gratitude. "Mia," he said softly, standing up to greet them. "It's so good to see you again." Mia smiled shyly, clutching her mom's hand. "Hi, Mr. Bennett." Lisa gave him a reassuring nod. "Thank you for meeting us here. I think it means a lot to both of you." They sat down together, and the conversation started slowly. Thomas ordered hot chocolate for Mia and tea for himself, while Lisa opted for coffee. As they sipped their drinks, Thomas began sharing more of his story, careful to keep it age-appropriate for Mia. He talked about how losing his job had led to bigger problems like not being able to pay rent or buy food. He admitted that he'd isolated himself out of shame, feeling too embarrassed to ask for help. "But then I met you," he said, turning to Mia with a gentle smile. "You didn't judge me or walk past me like I didn't exist. You saw me, and you cared enough to share your sandwich. That moment reminded me that even when life feels hopeless, there are still good people in the world." Mia listened intently, her big brown eyes wide with curiosity. "I just wanted to make sure you weren't hungry," she said simply. Thomas chuckled, blinking back tears. "Well, you did more than that. You gave me hope." The conversation shifted to lighter topics as Mia grew more comfortable. She told Thomas about school, her love for drawing, and how her mom always encouraged her to be kind. In return, Thomas shared stories about his own childhood, including how he used to draw pictures for his younger sister, a detail that made Mia beam with pride over her own artwork. As the afternoon wore on, Lisa noticed a change in Thomas. There was a lightness in his demeanor now, a spark of joy that hadn't been there before. For the first time in years, he seemed hopeful, not just about reconnecting with his family, but also about rebuilding his life. Before parting ways, Thomas handed Mia a small folded piece of paper. "This is for you," he said warmly, "to remind you how special you are." Mia unfolded it to find a simple, yet heartfelt note. "Thank you for seeing me when no one else did. Your kindness changed my life." Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes as she watched her daughter hug the note close to her chest. Little did any of them know, this meeting was only the beginning of a bond that would continue to grow stronger over time. In the weeks that followed their meeting at the cafe, an unexpected friendship began to blossom between Mia, her mom Lisa, and Thomas. Though they came from vastly different worlds, their shared connection through kindness created a bond neither side had anticipated. For Mia, it was exciting to have someone new in her life who appreciated her drawings and listened. intently to her stories about school. For Thomas, spending time with Mia and Lisa gave him a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. One Saturday morning, Thomas showed up at their apartment building carrying a small potted plant, a bright yellow daisy. "I thought Mia might like this," he said sheepishly as Lisa opened the door. "It reminded me of her dress the day we met." Mia squealed with delight when she saw the gift. "It's so pretty," she exclaimed, carefully cradling the pot in her hands. "Can we put it on our windowsill?" "Of course," Lisa replied, smiling warmly at Thomas. She stepped aside to let him in, noticing how much tidier and more confident he looked each time she saw him. It was clear that reconnecting with his family, and perhaps finding purpose in his newfound friendship with Mia, was helping him heal. Over tea and cookies, Thomas shared updates about his progress. He had moved into a tiny studio apartment thanks to assistance from a local charity program, and he'd started volunteering at a community center nearby. They needed someone to help organize donations, he explained. "It's not much, but it feels good to give back after everything I've been through." Lisa nodded approvingly. "That's wonderful, Thomas. You're doing amazing things." Mia chimed in excitedly. "Maybe you can come to my school one day. We're learning about plants in science class, and you could tell us all about your volunteer work." Thomas chuckled, touched by her enthusiasm. "I'd like that," he said sincerely, "but only if you promise to teach me some of what you learned too." Their visits became a regular part of their routine. Sometimes they'd go to the park where Mia and Thomas first met, sitting on the same bench while Mia sketched pictures of flowers or birds. Other times Thomas joined them for dinner at home, bringing simple gifts like books or puzzles for Mia. Each visit deepened their connection, filling a void in all their lives. One evening, as they walked back from the park together, Mia tugged on Thomas's sleeve. "Do you think people will stop being scared of homeless people if they knew how nice they could be?" she asked innocently. Thomas paused, struck by the depth of her question. "I don't know, sweetheart," he admitted. "But maybe if more people were like you, if they took the time to see others instead of judging them, the world would be a kinder place." Lisa watched the exchange silently, her heart swelling with pride. Her daughter's ability to inspire change in others was nothing short of remarkable. At the same time, she couldn't help but feel grateful for Thomas. His presence in their lives reminded her of the importance of second chances and compassion. As the days turned into weeks, their bond grew stronger. But little did they know, life still held challenges ahead, challenges that would test their friendship and force them to lean on each other even more. What started as a simple act of kindness was evolving into something far greater, a reminder that no matter how broken life may seem, hope can always bloom anew. Just as things were settling into a rhythm of warmth and connection, an unexpected storm hit their lives both literally and figuratively. One chilly autumn afternoon, dark clouds rolled over the town, bringing with them heavy rain and biting winds. Mia had been looking forward to a visit from Thomas that day. He'd promised to help her plant some seeds in pots on their tiny balcony. But when the downpour began, Lisa called him to suggest postponing their plans. "No problem," Thomas replied cheerfully over the phone. "We'll do it another time. Stay safe, both of you." Despite his reassurance, something about his tone lingered in Lisa's mind. She couldn't quite place it, a faint edge of weariness, perhaps, but she brushed it off, attributing it to the gloomy weather. Later that evening, however, the phone rang again. This time it wasn't Thomas calling. It was the hospital. A nurse explained that Thomas had collapsed while walking home from the community center earlier that day. He'd slipped on wet pavement during the storm and hit his head, leaving him unconscious for several minutes before someone found him and called for help. Lisa's heart sank as she listened to the details. "Is he okay?" she asked urgently, clutching the receiver tightly. "He's stable now," the nurse assured her, "but he suffered a concussion and is being monitored overnight. We're trying to reach his family, but since he listed you as an emergency contact, we thought we should inform you." After hanging up, Lisa turned to Mia, who was playing quietly on the floor. How could she explain this to her daughter without causing unnecessary worry? Taking a deep breath, she knelt beside her. "Mia, sweetheart, remember Mr. Bennett? He had a little accident today because of the rain, but don't worry. He's going to be fine. They're taking good care of him at the hospital." Mia's eyes widened with concern. "Can we go see him?" Lisa hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, let's go tomorrow morning after breakfast. For now, let's say a prayer or send good thoughts his way, okay?" The next day, they visited Thomas in the hospital. His usual cheerful demeanor was dimmed by pain and exhaustion, but his face lit up when he saw Mia peeking around the doorway holding a handmade card. "Well, look who's here," he said weakly, managing a small smile. "Come on in, you two." Mia ran to his bedside, carefully placing the colorful drawing she'd made onto his lap. "I drew this for you," she announced proudly. "It's a picture of us planting flowers together. When you get better, we can really do it." Thomas blinked back tears, touched by her thoughtfulness. "That's the best gift I've ever received," he murmured, gently touching the corner of the paper. "Thank you, Mia." As Lisa helped adjust his blankets, she noticed how fragile he seemed compared to just days ago. The incident served as a stark reminder of how precarious life could be, and how much Thomas still relied on support systems like theirs to keep moving forward. Over the next few days, Mia insisted on visiting Thomas daily after school, bringing new drawings or sharing stories about her day. Slowly but surely, his spirits began to lift. He even joked one afternoon, "If I'd known all it took to make me feel better was your artwork, Mia, I would have faked sick months ago." But beneath the laughter, there was a deeper truth emerging. Their bond wasn't just built on kindness anymore. It was rooted in mutual care and resilience. And though challenges lay ahead, they faced them together, proving that even in the darkest storms, light could find its way through cracks in the sky. Weeks passed, and Thomas slowly regained his strength. With Mia's unwavering encouragement and Lisa's steady support, he began to rebuild not just his health, but also his confidence. The accident had shaken him, reminding him how fragile life could be, but it also deepened his appreciation for the people who stood by him. He often told Mia, "You're my little guardian angel," whenever she visited with her bright smile and endless energy. One crisp morning in early winter, Thomas invited Mia and Lisa to join him at the community center where he volunteered. It was a special day, the unveiling of a new garden project designed to teach children about nature and sustainability. As they walked through the gates, Mia's eyes widened in awe. Rows of freshly planted flowers, herbs, and vegetables stretched out before them, each bed marked with colorful signs painted by local kids. "This is amazing," Mia exclaimed, spinning around to take it all in. "Did you help make this?" Thomas nodded proudly. "I did, and so will you if you want to. They're letting me lead some workshops for kids who want to learn more about gardening." Mia clapped her hands excitedly. "Yes. Can we start today?" Lisa laughed softly, watching her daughter bounce with enthusiasm. "Looks like you've got your first official helper," she teased, turning to Thomas. As the weeks went by, Mia became a regular fixture at the garden. She loved digging in the soil, watering plants, and learning about how seeds grew into something beautiful. Thomas patiently guided her every step of the way, teaching her not only about gardening, but also about patience, responsibility, and the importance of nurturing life, lessons that resonated deeply with both Mia and Lisa. One sunny afternoon, as they sat together on a bench overlooking the garden, Thomas turned to Lisa with a thoughtful expression. "I never thought I'd have a second chance like this," he admitted quietly. "When I met Mia that day in the park, I didn't realize how much she'd changed my life. Both of you have given me hope when I needed it most." Lisa smiled warmly. "And you've done the same for us. You've shown Mia and me that kindness creates ripples bigger than we can imagine." Mia, overhearing their conversation, chimed in earnestly. "We're like a team now, right? We take care of each other." Thomas chuckled, his eyes glistening with emotion. "That's exactly right, sweetheart. We're a team." The bond they shared continued to grow stronger over time. Thomas eventually reconnected fully with his family, introducing them to Mia and Lisa during a heartfelt gathering one spring afternoon. His sister hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face as she thanked Lisa and Mia for helping bring her brother back into their lives. Years later, when Mia grew older and looked back on those days, she remembered them fondly, not just for the lessons she learned, but for the profound impact a single act of kindness had created. That small gesture of giving away her sandwich had sparked a chain reaction, touching countless lives and proving that even the simplest acts of compassion could bloom into something extraordinary. In the end, what started as an ordinary encounter between a little girl and a stranger became a story of hope, healing, and humanity, a reminder that no matter how different people may seem, connection and love are always possible when hearts remain open.